If you wanted to create a mess that would impact nearly every family in the Denver metro area, we now know exactly how you would do it. You would flip a tanker truck in the middle of northbound I-25 and unleash a series of subsequent explosions and fires that would shut down that interstate for 6 hours and counting now. They still have not gotten this tanker truck to the point where they believe that it is safe for it to be moved off of the interstate, and only then will they understand what is beneath the damage down there. A CDOT employee who happens to be a next viewer on the nights he's not working overtime on an interstate that caught fire tells me that this could have melted down 16 inches of asphalt that they will have to cut away, strip away, and re-pour overnight. The barrier separating northbound and southbound will have to be cut away, the concrete re-poured. If you're saying to yourself that sounds like an awful lot of work to get done in an overnight, well, the fact is, it is an awful lot of work, and he was unsure whether they could do it. CDOT is hopeful that the interstate will be reopened for tomorrow's massive morning rush hour by at least 8 a.m., but that is a moving target as they have waited hours to get access to the site as firefighters have continued to work on it today. In just a moment, I'll be joined live by CDOT's Executive Director, Shaylin Batt, who will be able to tell me a bit more about how things will play out in the next couple of hours. We have video for you of the driver of that tanker truck, the only person injured in today's incident, getting out of the tanker truck. That person was able to get immediate medical attention, thanks in part to a CDOT worker who happened to be nearby. We will talk about that in just a moment. All indications are that the truck driver is going to be okay. Let's bring in CDOT's Executive Director, Shaylin Batt, now to talk about what happened here today. First off, the question that everybody has, best timetable for reopening all of northbound and southbound.
Yeah, so as you can see, we've got 3 lanes open on southbound. We've got 2 lanes close to the investigation and the repair. Northbound, we have 5 lanes. As you can see, that truck is actually melted down into the pavement, and we've been waiting for it to get to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Fire department just told us that it's there. We're going to put some foam in the tank, take that vehicle, get it off, start the assessments. Our crews have been waiting to go for a few hours now. We've got a contractor on site. We're going to crank through the night, hope to get it open in the morning.
Bottom line, if somebody takes I-25 in the morning, should they be making other plans tonight?
I think they need to check in with our website, Your News Service, in the morning. It would be good to hope for the best and plan for the worst and check out alternative routes.
Tell me about the CDOT maintenance worker who happened to be one of the first on scene to help that truck driver out.
Yeah, pretty fortuitous that one of our, 2 of our maintenance workers just happened to be out on patrol, came upon the crash almost immediately afterwards, and were able to render assistance to the driver, who was in a pretty bad state at that point. So we're grateful that they were there, and we always say our job is to save lives and make people's lives better, and I think that's a great example of it.
Folks can jump on E470 tonight and not have to worry about a toll in order to alleviate some of the I-25 congestion. I heard you say earlier today that you guys will cover the toll if that has to happen. Why aren't they just waiving the tolls?
You know, I think that that'll be part of a negotiation. I think they've been very good to work with. You know, it's a private road, it's a private entity, or a public-private entity, and that'll be part of the negotiation. I think that they're not interested in making a lot of money, but they also have, you know, responsibility. So I'd love it if they just waive it, but we'll have a negotiation around that. The bottom line is, though, is that they worked with us to be able to get people on that road as an alternative route.
And last question, I know you think a lot about traffic safety, the future of traffic safety, whether these interstates are sustainable. Do you see anything here today that either confirms what you have always thought or leads you to perhaps think differently about the problems that we face with infrastructure in Colorado?
No, I think what this confirms is I think we've seen a pretty significant traffic impact on the rest of Denver based on the fact that this interstate's been out of commission for 6 hours. And to me, it just underscores the importance of keeping our roadways safe and keeping them open.
All right, Shaylin Batt from CDOT, thank you so much for your time. Please keep us updated.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. So you heard it from him there, the folks who are taking 470 tonight and who are able to drive that highway free of charge. It is thanks to CDOT, which again is taxpayer funded. We have reached out to E470 to ask whether they might be willing to do the right thing and just waive those tolls entirely, and we'll let you know if we hear back on that. Also wanted to know what happens when so much traffic that is headed down Interstate 25 is suddenly shunted onto side streets. onto Quebec, onto Bellevue, onto Orchard, onto Monaco. How can those streets keep up? And are there cities around the metro area, Greenwood Village, Centennial, that adjust their traffic lights on the fly to deal with an influx of traffic? Centennial in Denver told us no, that's not something that they do. Greenwood Village said yes, in fact they do. We went inside the Traffic Operations Center where Public Works employees were watching the cameras. They were manually overriding the light cycles to help traffic get through the areas. Jeremy, the Public Works manager, shared this video with us. One of the things that we have been seeing ever since noon today, when that tanker truck crashed due to a blown tire and went into the barrier, is the amount of foam that firefighters have been putting on the scene. They just finished with the foam a short time ago. The foam seals off the air, keeps it from getting to the fire and to any spark, whereas the water that's in the foam helps to cool down the tanks to that 140 degrees that Shaylin Batt referenced. The foam truck came in from Centennial Airport nearby. South Metro's used it for a couple of years. Mainly, they'll turn it loose on aircraft fires, and it spits out 750 to 1,500 gallons. So we're talking like 5 hot tubs of foam per minute. Now, one side effect of that is that the foam mixed with the fuels and the oils, the 500 gallons of diesel, the 500 gallons of various oils that were inside that tanker truck, it creates, one CDOT worker described to me as almost like an ice slick. So they have some dirt out here that they can throw over it to make sure that people can safely operate it on top of it. And one of the first things that they're going to do before they get in and really start working on the asphalt is
expressed dismay at the rising crime inside one of the city's crown jewels. The mayor's office is now responding to our viewers directly over email. One viewer received this note saying, "The crime occurring in and around the library is unacceptable, and we agree that more needs to be done, and that we are increasing police presence outside the facility, addressing security and staffing."
It's really sad that it's happening here, and I'm sad for those people who have that drug addiction at the same time.
Since our investigation earlier this month, police have made arrests and have increased patrols. The mayor's office is also looking at possible renovations that could help security spot illegal activities inside and around the library easier. That could come through a $50 million bond voters will decide on this November. For Next, I'm Jeremy Hohola.
You're going to want to thank Kathy Saban for the weekend forecast. You'll see why in a minute. His morning commute is tougher than yours, but there's no road involved. And why this woman didn't get in trouble for grabbing someone else's. Next. You'll reach a spot listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and you'll probably meet a guy who some consider a historical landmark himself. Arnold Brennan and Ann Herbst got to meet him too.
Quite a workout.
This morning commute would be stress-free
Yeah, to get my breath.
were it not so strenuous.
You're 9,748 feet.
But for Billy Ellis,
My name is Billy Gene Ellis,
stress clears
and I work for the Forest Service.
when he reaches his office on top of Devil's Head. It's been 33 summers for this 85-year-old.
Yeah, that's Mount Pisgah.
5 months a year, he greets tens of thousands of visitors to the historic fire
Yeah,
tower.
and sign in before you leave if you don't mind.
Between all those visits is the real reason Billy's here.
This is a real clear day, yes.
Every 15 minutes, he scans the skies.
Is there any active fires right now?
Not that I know of, no.
Since 2004, Billy spotted 76 fires from a lookout.
The furthest one I've ever picked up was back this way, and it's about 50 miles out.
He's only missed a few.
And I'm devastated for days after that.
But Billy's usually in the best spot to see
It
everything.
was a dark cloud came from the northwest this way.
The Twister of 2015 made a lasting impression.
Got religion that day.
143 steps below the tower is the cabin Billy shares with Margaret, his wife of 56 years.
When I'm around, he can't hardly get a word in.
Talking helps pass the time. And so does Margaret's obsession
I have a Chewbacca from 1977.
with Star Wars.
Well, Darth Vader's my favorite.
Billy's job down here is just to listen.
I don't even know what she's talking about.
He's never seen it. He's never seen it. He's never seen it.
Both share a love for the outdoors.
I would never go down if I didn't have to.
Neither is ready to give up this post in the Pike National Forest.
And I know the day will come, and it'll be really sad. But while we're here, gonna totally enjoy it.
Billy will never tire of this commute because this will never really feel like work.
It's been a lot of fun.
For Next, I'm Noel Brennan.
Billy's wife's my favorite. Last year, more than 27,000 people visited the Devil's Head Fire Lookout. Billy Ellis gets hundreds of visitors every day. He's happy to share stories and history with everyone who stops by.
Another thing in common, Steve. Billy's wife is my favorite too. Although you're pretty fun to work with. Hey, how about the weather? Working with us today, bringing in a few showers, no hail, thunder and lightning in the city. Off to the east of us, a different story. But how about the warming trend? A warming trend that will continue through the rest of this weekend, right into the weekend. And as we track these thunder showers coming off the foothills, it should be rain and lightning for Denver between now and 9 o'clock, with the severe hail-producing cells well east of us, out around Fort Morgan, Sterling, Burlington, and Yuma. They're quick movers moving toward the southeast, and we have drier air working in later on tonight. But with warm weather and a little bit of moisture, another round of thunderstorms expected tomorrow. Got about a 20% chance of rain from storms that develop, but enough sunshine and a nice wind shift to push temperatures above the average of 77. We are headed back into the low 80s tomorrow. Convection in the high country early in the day, and we'll look for those storms to roll over Denver around 2 o'clock. Tonight, an isolated shower early and then clearing our low, a mild 52 degrees. Lots of sunshine again tomorrow. Warm at 83 with an afternoon storm, a trend that continues into the weekend. But Steve said you loved the weekend. I took thunderstorms out Saturday and Sunday with temperatures in the mid 80s. Hello, June, our severe weather month. And see, while you're a bright spot, how about the Aurora Borealis in Wyoming this week?
Wow.
Crazy picture.
Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay.
The most Colorado thing we saw today was actually something that viewer Jada Austin saw. She was heading to DIA from a trip to Moab when she pulled over hoping to see bighorn sheep. What she saw next had her giddy as a child.
This is so stinking cool.
Oh, I was so excited. I think I was 5 years old for the entire race. We thought we might be able to see the bighorn sheep. And we saw a man going down the road with a donkey. And we're like, hey man, why are you running down the road with a donkey? And he explained that they were racing that morning. And so we stayed and watched.
In all my years of doing horses, I have never heard or seen anything like this.
I hear a girl say, somebody catch that loose donkey, please. And it was right as they were coming to me. And I thought, if I let him get past, I'm going to catch him.
Oh, yes. Whoa, 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 gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. This yours?
Unfortunately, the man was eliminated for that because he did not take him back to the point that he lost him.
Thank you.
Hang on to your ass.
I could not say it. It was right there.
Y'all have fun.
Little known fact, Burroughs liked to run. That race was a little more than 8 miles from Georgetown to Empire and back. And on June 10th, there'll be a 10-mile donkey dash in the town of Creed, which is between Alamosa and Telluride. We're still watching the situation on I-25, and we'll let you know if anything significant changes. He just summited Mount Everest, then came down to swap stories with an old hiking buddy. Next. For the last couple of months, we followed Fort Collins resident Jim Davison on his quest to climb Mount Everest. He reached the summit 10 days ago. Now he's back in Colorado. And he sat down with his friend, our Kevin Vaughn, to talk about the experience.
You've been dreaming of climbing Mount Everest for much of your life. How did the reality compare?
It lived up to all its expectations. You know, it was harder than I thought. It was longer and more grinding than I thought to wait in base camp. But when it all came together, those last 5 days of making the summit push and the last couple hours along the summit ridge, it lived up to the dream.
How long did you spend on top?
Probably only about 15 minutes on top. You know, you want to spend longer and soak it in and everything, but there's this kind of nagging fear that if altitude sickness gets me or the weather closes in, we're going to regret spending time here. So just a few minutes to get photos, try and soak it deep in the head and the heart, and then start down the mountain. Being up that high, it does give you a different perspective on the globe we live on. As we were going up in the dark about a half hour before sunrise, I looked to my left and I saw a little light and I thought maybe it's a village, but there's no villages over there. And I looked at it and I realized what I was doing was looking down at a star. And that sounds crazy. You think, well, no, the stars are up high, but the stars were at the horizon and I could look down at the horizon and see stars to my left and to my right at the same time. And when I was looking down on the stars, and I realized that's because I'm near the apex of the Earth. So it really gives you a perspective on being very small on this Earth and how we have to take care of it.
Back live along I-25, still shut down after today's tanker truck explosion and fire. Just got best case and worst case scenarios from the director of CDOT. A best case scenario is that all of northbound I-25 is open for the rush hour tomorrow. A realistic scenario, he said, is that 2 lanes northbound will still be closed. That means slowdowns. That means rubberneckers on both sides and a real slow commute tomorrow. A worst case scenario, he said, was that 2 lanes, if the roadbed is damaged, 2 lanes northbound will remain closed through the weekend. So again, we need to wait for them to get this tanker out to see how many inches of asphalt they've lost and whether or not the roadbed is damaged. Even when Next is on the road, we always finish with your feedback. And Mike thoughtfully emailed in to say, Clark's an idiot. He just told every tourist how to shut down Denver. Mike, you mean terrorist, and if you think that it's a secret that America's infrastructure could be subject to terror attack, you're not doing a lot of reading these days. See you next time.